This is TWiT.
Kashmir's great. She's writing for Gizmodo now. She said she wanted to try. She'd been slowly going on a diet, slowly eliminating the big five from her daily life. But when she finally cut out all of them, she says it was hell. She got a tame hacker to, I guess, install a blocker or whatever. She bought a Purism laptop, which is a Linux Freedom First laptop, a Nokia feature phone because she can't buy iOS or Android. The big five for her were Amazon, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and Apple. She'd cut them out one at a time, but in week 6, she blocked them all. So she had a network tool that would even go to the point, like she tried to use Dropbox, but Dropbox uses AWS. So the network tool blocked Dropbox. Yeah. That's Amazon. It's not an Amazon company, but they use AWS.
Oh, and the Nokia phone is my favorite.
Isn't that a beautiful, that's a lovely.
3310.
Well, and that was one of the problems, just she had to text using, do you remember, folks? If you want to type cat, you have to type 111. Pause 1 6 6 6 6, and then you'd get cat. And then they had T9, which was a prediction service, which was terrible. She didn't enjoy that, apparently.
I'm impressed that she attempted this.
Yeah.
Absolute performance art. I'm just so I can't imagine. It must have been absolute hell. I mean, everything we touch every day goes to those big companies.
And in ways you don't realize. I mean, that's what I think the real import of this article is. She couldn't listen to music in her car because she had a Ford Sync system with the Microsoft car. Had to turn that off. Yeah. We are so dependent, and it's just 5 companies. That's the thing that's really scary. I don't mind being dependent on 100 technology companies. But when it boils down, and actually you probably could just say, you could probably take a couple of these out of there. Like just say Google, Amazon, and Facebook, and it would still be almost impossible to use the internet, right?
Particularly Amazon because of Amazon Web Services.
And Google, because try to live without Google.
Right, right. I think it would have been interesting, you know, she wanted to go from top to bottom on, you know, what she didn't use. So she didn't want to use Amazon Web Services. But what if you simply avoided their consumer-facing products and, you know, if you had to go through pipes that they owned, fine. I wonder what kind of exercise that
That'd be a lot easier. She was being very pure. Well, I'll give you an example. I use, they're a sponsor, a product called Helm, which is a home email server. It's a really clever idea, solves a lot of the problems. But guess what? It runs everything through Amazon S3. So I would have to stop. She ended up using Proton Mail. I think she's safe there because its servers are in a mountain in Switzerland. So, but yeah, I mean, Gina, you probably wouldn't have a job if you couldn't use those 5.
I mean, we deploy everything for all of our clients to AWS or Google Cloud. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm sure even the other services like Heroku and Linode and all, they're also using, like managed hosts also use in the background those services. It would be very, very difficult.
So is it Richard Stallman level crazy to say, let's just get rid of all this stuff? Or should we all be really concerned because we're so dependent on it now? Obviously, it's not easy to get rid of it.
I thought it was interesting that she saw the best and the worst. Like, on one hand, she tried to record audio and send it to a podcast and ended up having to use the dark web. Right. Right? Like, she had
to use an Onion, a Tor-based browser to share the file.
And couldn't even download the tool. Had to, like, rsync it from someone else's Linux
she had
network.
to build the code from scratch. Okay.
But it does sound like by the end, she got to a more deliberate space where she said she didn't know what time it was because she doesn't use her phone all the time now, and like more deliberate and using the technology as a tool instead of being, you know, enwombed by it, you know, cocooned by it that's something.
I'm sure a Buddhist monk in you know, vow of silence is in a much more quiet space too. I'm not sure that the
whether
world.
It's worth it.
Well, it's not even whether it's worth it. Can the world survive? I mean, in order to do this, you have to withdraw from the world. I mean, that's really what you're doing. And can we survive? I feel like I'm a little worried, Dwight. I feel like these companies have an immense amount of power now in our lives.
Well, if you know, the way we live online. We live with our smartphones. You know, we're doing this podcast over the internet where there's all kinds of products on on this computer. There are people in rural areas who use a lot less of it and live day to day just fine, and they don't necessarily rely on it as much. But if you're all in on the 21st century and the way the 21st century works, as she showed, it's pretty much close to impossible. I think you could spend a lot of time worrying about it, but just use it.
What if I said, instead of the big five, let's take China out of our technology? Can you do that? No. This whole studio would be shut down, right?
Wasn't there a book someone tried to not buy anything made in China? And it was also a similar thing. Like life was so much harder. I mean, we're all interconnected, and I mean, if we're going to work in this industry and participate in life just the way Dwight said, the way that we do, it's these 5 companies are kind of inevitable.